Hi, art historians. Welcome back. We are going to be talking a little bit about a summary of our week 3 learning materials. So first and foremost, this week you explored the art of Islam, which, not gonna lie, some of my favorite artwork. I mean, those mosaics are out of this world, and I personally cannot imagine putting those types of compositions and complicated materials together, and so I'm always so impressed by the work that I see from that unit. So I hope you enjoyed it too. And we also explored the medieval world part 3, which was our Romanesque and Gothic eras. And if you watched my summary videos, hopefully you're starting to correlate a little bit more of my analogies there, where I talk about the Romanesque chapter serving as kind of like a pomegranate, and then the Gothic looking like an asparagus. Maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. It helps to stay in my brain. All right, so this week we had 2 quizzes. I'm going to talk about some maybe answers that we all sort of might have gotten tripped up on or had some questions about. We'll talk about the discussions, and then I have some announcements for you all. So first we have quiz 5. I wanted to point out the fact that the Great Mosque of Damascus was a combination of Roman and Byzantine. So when we think about that, it's mostly because of that colonnaded courtyard, right? The central dome is not always something used in Roman and Byzantine, sometimes, but not always. The mihrab is exclusively Islamic, so that can't be the case in regards to Byzantine, since most of that work was Christian that we had studied. And Roman artwork definitely did not use mihrabs. And then last but not least, we have the hypostyle hall. And some of you have put this, but those are really more popular in regards to other churches and other sites. Those are not connected to Roman and Byzantine, but really more to Egypt. And then, of course, don't forget about that phrase, the Kufic script. All the Qurans that you're seeing are written in this style for the most part. This is the script and the calligraphy that we get to see all of that beautiful gold detail and all those exact mathematical arrangements and calculations that help us really get those very amazing compositions that are just so well balanced and very pleasing to the eye. Then we move on to quiz 6, and for this particular piece, I wanted to definitely make sure you all know that the flying buttress is absolutely like the hallmark Gothic quality, right? A lot of the things that some of you maybe had chose in lieu of the flying buttress for that multiple choice question are things that we had already seen prior. They were just popularized in the Gothic era. So those examples are pointed arches, stained glass windows, as well as ribbed stone vaulting. Some of these were used prior to, but it's the flying buttress that is like the pinnacle of Gothic architecture. Pinnacle, also a Gothic feature as well. So I hope that helps clear up a little bit of confusion with those quizzes. Let's move right along to our really amazing discussion. So this week we had a couple of really amazing comments. I'm going to talk about the Ben Ezra Synagogue, the Blanche of Castile a dedication page, and then our Saint Chapelle from Paris. So Kayla wrote about the Ben Ezra Synagogue that the carving detail that is included in that site, we were wondering whether that's something that happens before the entire site is put together or afterwards. And that is such an interesting, kind of conversation to have. If you think about it, what parts of these buildings are being constructed kind of like prefab beforehand, and what is done when they finally get in that space? I think to even some classic examples of, right here in 2024 in New Jersey, my art rooms just got redone in my building, and there were some things that we could design prior to them doing that construction over our summer break, but now there are some things that I'm realizing as I get back into my room and organized and start to put things where I want them to be, all that stuff had to happen after the construction was done. So I'd like to think, Kayla, that it's a nice mix of both. But I do believe I will be going to the Ben Ezra Synagogue when I travel in the next couple weeks, so I will keep you updated. All right, then Cole wrote a little bit more about the Blanche of Castile, the dedication page, and how it was really a snapshot of a single moment, which I thought was just really, really smart. You have to consider the fact that there's so much history, so much story and narrative and background to all of these things, and yet in our artworks, we're only just getting one small moment. There was also somebody else in the discussion who had written about how the composition of the page was perfectly divided into 4 categories, and I thought that was such such an interesting point and observation. Almost feels like Blanche of Castile and King Louis are sort of on the same level of importance in regards to the clerk and the monk, because they're shown in the same amount of space. Now, of course, our king and queen are right on top, but it is really interesting to consider that concept of hierarchy that we have seen in previous art historical research and previous art historical compositions. All right, let's move right back along to our Sainte-Chapelle, our beautiful cathedral in Paris. Taylor had written all about how beautiful those windows were. I echoed that. Cole agreed. Elia wrote that there was an amazing sense of calmness within this building. Micah had written that they wish they had been able to get to this place and see it, but while they were on their trip to Paris. And folks, I just love this Sainte-Chapelle love that we're getting in this discussion. I think this is such a wonderful conversation you all had, and I want to give you a lot of congratulations for being so open and honest and sharing such important thoughts about all this artwork. So great job. All right, so let's cover some updates, folks. First and foremost, those self-guided explorations need to be turned in on the template that I've provided for you in announcements. If you did not do so, I made a comment on your submission. I will not grade it until that template has been followed. So when I posted that template, I wrote that you didn't need to resubmit anything if you had already in a previous format, but going forward, I asked that we please use this, and I really meant it. So if you see a comment from me or even a reminder of the comment from me, please just take your work, put it in the template, and then resubmit it, and then I'll go ahead and put your grade in. You don't have to worry about lateness, but please make sure you're using it going forward. Now, the next thing I want to say is that, folks, discussions, they are not optional. We need to be filling out those discussions. Since we are in an online class, this is sort of serving as your participation and your attendance. So please, please make sure that you are commenting. I love hearing about all of the artwork that we're spending more time exploring. I think it's a really important part of art history. Actually sitting with art and taking a look at it and noticing those smaller details. So amazing job there. But I want to see that from everybody. So if you missed this week, you are going to get no points, but for everybody else, great job. And let's make sure we're really filling those out going forward. Not only just commenting first ourselves, but also commenting on the posts of our peers. That way we can kind of get a sense of discussion happening. It is unfortunate. I am at a distance and you all are too, but we can still really make a beautiful art-rich conversation and community here amongst ourselves. So please don't forget to do that. In the same note, notes are also not optional, folks. While there are a few lower grades that will be dropped from your final grade, you should really be aware of the fact that these are really a core assignment for this class. So that means that every notes sheet you're turning in, we need to do the amount of core works per sheet, right? So if you have 5 core works in one unit, you are turning in 5 note sheets. If you have 8 core works, you are turning in 8 note sheets. If you have 4 core works, you're turning in 4 note sheets, so on and so forth. While I am also requesting that you take a look at the supplemental works as well and maybe fill out 1 or 2 note sheets, I am looking for, at a minimum, the amount of note sheets that correlate to that unit. So please pay attention. I cannot keep commenting that I am missing things from people and to resubmit. At this point in time, we are about halfway through class, so we need to kind of get this routine down a little bit more. If you have any questions about that, do not hesitate to reach out. I am more than happy to provide any clarification that I can. Speaking of approaching the halfway point of the semester, or this class actually, at this point in time, I'm going to ask that everybody please fill out that grade calculation worksheet that I have posted to Canvas. It is in a module where you will submit your work between module 3s and 4s. Can't miss it. Big bold letters, all in capital. Please go ahead and fill that out based on what I have graded so far, which should be through the end of week 3. That way you can get a sense as to where your grade lies in relation to the amount of points you are hoping to earn for this course, which will then correlate to your grade. Don't pay attention to that final grade calculation that is being done without more of your work being factored in. Calculate what you have so far in regards to weeks 1 through 3, and that way you'll get a sense as to where you are. Now, when you are done with that, it needs to be submitted on Canvas by Wednesday night, and folks, if I don't get submissions from everybody, I will email you until I do. This is a really important process for me as an educator, most essentially because I want to ensure that we are all on the same page in regards to what your grade looks like now and where you want it to end up. I don't want it to be that in week 7 anybody has a panic and has to do so much extra work because they didn't anticipate the fact that they maybe were a little bit lower on the point side than they were hoping to get. We'll be doing this again a little bit later in the semester, probably in week 6 or 7, but I really think it's a perfect way to make sure everybody's on the same page, everybody is aware about where they're doing in class, where they can earn points going forward with certain assignments like writing assignments and further self-guided explorations, but this is a very important assignment. I will be looking out for it, so please make sure you submit by Wednesday night. On that note, I think that about wraps up our summary video for week 3. I hope you really enjoyed all your learning, and I will see you back here for week 4. Bye, everybody.